I don't know when you first saw Heat, but I probably didn't see it until when did this come out? 95. I reckon I would have seen it closer to me being about 18, 19. So probably a couple of years after it got released. And well, maybe a bit later actually. But I remember watching it for the first time and thinking, how the hell have I not seen this film before? This type of film is one of those films where if someone says to me, "Have you seen Heat?" I would be like, "Oh yeah, it's amazing, really good film, really good film." And it was similar to my experiences with Goodfellas. And I sat down. It'd been a few years since it came out, and I just sort of said to myself, "How comes I've never seen this before? This is a really, really good film." So going into watching it this time, I was really excited. Admittedly, it's a 3-hour film, so it's a long, long film. But yeah, I was really looking forward to watching it. So I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Well, this is one of my favorite films, so it's definitely in my top 20. I would say definitely in there. I think I saw it similar age to you. I'm pretty sure I bought this on VHS when HMV had a 3 for 20 sale when I was in my first or second year in uni.
Yeah, and I think I must have been the same. I reckon I probably watched it with you, bro.
You might have, yeah, but I go along with a lot of what you're saying in terms of it'd come out a few years earlier, but I hadn't heard anything about it. There was no sort of press about it. There was nothing. Say there was probably a trailer or two that had been shown in the cinema or on TV, and you know, you got to remember now when we were growing up, the only film program was film dot dot dot, wasn't it? Whatever the year happened to be, film 95 or film 96. So they would have had a brief review on there of the film, and if you didn't catch that episode, you didn't know what was going on. But yeah, I think the reason I bought the VHS is because it had Pacino and De Niro in it, and I'm pretty sure I had heard something about the coffee scene or the cafe scene.
Coffee scene, which is the first scene they've ever been on camera together, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that might have piqued my interest as well. But yeah, I remember buying it, bringing it back to student house and watching it, and I've loved it ever since. And incidentally, I had watched it a few months ago before we had said about doing it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I don't have to rewatch it. I've watched this loads of times over the years. I probably watch this like once every couple of years. But today, I was supposed to be working from home. And I thought, I'm going to put Heat on in the background because it's 3 hours. I thought, I normally have something on in the background. I'm going to put it on. I'll dip in and out of it when I want to because I've seen it so many times. Do you know what happened after half an hour?
You were engrossed, were you?
I watched the whole film. I watched the next 2.5 hours. I think that speaks volumes for what I think about the film.
A funny thing happened to me though watching it this time round, and as I said just now, if anyone had asked me beforehand, I'd be like, yeah, I love this film. It's probably got everything that you want from a crime drama. It has a great cast and it keeps you entertained. But I didn't get that satisfied feeling I have had previously when watching this film. And I've watched it probably easily for 10 years plus, right? Possibly even when we were in uni. So, 15. Yeah. But I was just thinking, I was trying to put my sort of finger on why didn't it appeal to me this time as much as it has previously? And I think it was a little bit because of the podcast. I was trying to critique it a little bit too much. I was trying to look for, what's my favorite aspect or what changes would I make? And sometimes, we say this often, you just need to sit down and bloody enjoy the film.
Do you think doing this podcast has, for good or bad, changed how you watch films?
Possibly. I think if I just sit down and watch a film and enjoy it for what it is, fair enough. But I'm often very conscious of, one, having something to say on this bloody podcast, Two, at least it sounding reasonably entertaining or informative.
Yeah.
And and I don't know. And three, sort of at least knowing or feeling that I'm knowledgeable about the film. Because sometimes you can put a film on in the background, like you said you did with Heat this time. But you don't always pick up everything, and especially if it's a film you haven't seen in a long time or it's a film you haven't seen before. I want to at least try and do it justice. And I think with this time round, maybe I just needed to give it my full attention.
Do you think because of the length as well, it might have put you off a little bit?
The length definitely impacts for me watching a film these days. And
Yeah.
as you know, got a young family, two little kids. I work full time. So my day normally is wake up, we have half hour, 45 minutes with the kids. We get them dressed, we get them off to nursery. I work an 8 hour day. I come home, I have the kids for 2 hours as regards to you feeding them, you bathing them, you putting them to bed. I have food with my other half. By all of this time, it's 8 o'clock. So for me then to put a 3 hour film on, I'm probably getting tired towards the end of it. So some of that all has an impact on how I enjoy films these days. So that may have had an impact as well. It's not like back in the day when we used to watch films in university and you'd watch one and you'd be like, should we put another film on? And you'd be like, it's 10:30 at night. And you'd be like, sod it. It doesn't matter if we watch a film till 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's do it.
I know.
So
yeah.
I am definitely on a little time scale, but let's not detract from the actual film, right? I do love this film. I do really enjoy it. The cast is absolutely brilliant, and that's my favorite aspect. A cast that has De Niro, Pacino, and Val Kilmer, and there's other people in there as well. You got Natalie Portman, although she's not in a huge amount. Danny Trejo, Ashley Judd, I think is good in this.
Yeah.
Tom Sizemore is decent in it. For all his troubles he has outside of films, I think
he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is a good actor. John Voight, is decent in it as well. And I was
don't forget McKelty Williamson as well. What?
Which one's McKelty Williamson? Is he
He's Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Oh, Drucker. He plays, doesn't he? Yeah. And there's the other guy. I can't remember his name. Is it Dennis Haysbert? I got it written down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And funnily enough, I forgot he was in the film, and I know him from Major League 2.
Yeah.
He plays Serrano. And there's a film we need to do. I used to love that growing up.
You're right about the cast, though. I mean, you've listed loads, and there's still people on there that I love that you haven't even mentioned. William Fichtner,
brilliant.
Ted Levine, I love Ted Levine. John Voight is in it.
Yeah. Ted Levine was in Silence of the Lambs, wasn't he?
Yeah. Wes Studi.
You got Tom Noonan.
Yes.
Who plays Kane in RoboCop 2.
Yeah, he's only got a small part in this, hasn't he? But yeah, the cast is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And although I'm not a huge fan of the character in there, but you got Diane Venora. Is that how you say her name?
Oh, it's Justine Hanna. Yeah.
Yeah. She's Pacino's other half, isn't she?
That's right. Yeah, she's a really good actress.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about how little she's given in that role as well.
Oh, exactly. What I like about her, and maybe it's just this film, but she's got a hint of Audrey Hepburn about her.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
Yeah, definitely. A bit of a look about it. But yeah, so there's my favorite aspect straight away, right? Cast. I'm not even going to list any of those because I just think they stand out. I think Val Kilmer is good in this, really good in this. Such an underrated actor.
Yeah, it's ironic given we watched this and we watched Top Gun before, whether that comes out before this podcast or after. But like, you realise Val Kilmer. Yeah, I know there's stories about him on set and being difficult to work with, this, that, and the other. But I think he's such an underrated actor.
Definitely. I tell you a film I want to do in the future, and we haven't done one yet, but a biopic but I want to do the Doors film where he plays
That'd
Jim
be
Morrison,
interesting, yeah.
because I remember watching that as a teenager, and we had a friend who Dale who was massively into his music of that era. He was really big into the Doors. So when I came around to watch the Doors film first off, I thought, they've just used the Doors music on top of things, and then they did, I know, but also like they used clips of of Jim Morrison talking over Val Kilmer. They didn't. It was Val Kilmer. He's bloody
Yeah.
brilliant. Supposedly, right, he learned up to 50 different Doors films. And when they played the recording of him singing it to the other Doors members, they couldn't tell that it wasn't Jim Morrison.
Oh, you mean he sang up to 50 Doors songs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He learned and sang them.
Have you seen the documentary about him? Val Kilmer.
I've seen a couple of different ones over the years, but nothing.
There's one come out in the last year because he's obviously got cancer, isn't he?
Oh, Val Kilmer. Sorry, if I meant Jim Morrison. Yeah. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's an interesting look at his career and life. Definitely, it's worth watching, I think.
What's your favorite aspect?
Oh God, I go along with you with the cast. I love the music; is incredible. What else? Do you know what? My favorite aspect this time is the duality of the two leads, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Their characters. I think it's said in one of. I think Robert De Niro says in one line during the cafe scene, there's a flip side to that coin. And I think that's representative of them too. They are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
They are the same people, just on different sides. And I love the ending. Do you know they're both alone at the end, but they've got each other. And I know it seems weird. The first time I watched it when I was younger, I remember thinking when Robert De Niro reaches out when he's dying and Al Pacino takes his hand. And I remember thinking at the time, because I was young, I was like, what's that about then? But as you get older, you like realize like the nuance and the subtlety of the film. You understand like Robert De Niro's alone, Al Pacino's alone. Robert De Niro neither of them wanted to die alone really, but they knew that's how it was probably going to be. And Al Pacino recognized that. And that's why he took his hand. I don't know, it's something, I find it quite poetic, the film really, in a way.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of it that way before, but I do like the fact that, De Niro's character, even though in theory he's the bad guy, is billed just as high as Pacino's character.
Yeah.
And it is good to see. I have one issue with Pacino's character, and I don't know if it's Pacino himself or the way he's been asked to play it.
I might be able to answer this if I think I know where you're going.
He's a bit shouty.
Do you know what that is? In an original draft, he was written as a cokehead.
Oh, was he? So
yeah.
He's like having these sort of highs.
Yeah, apparently, it was written by Michael Mann that in order for Hannah to function at all hours and keep going, he got into cocaine. So apparently that's what, and it was taken out of the script, but Al Pacino liked that note, so he took that as a way to portray the character anyway.
And there's probably a handful of other films where he goes a bit shouty, but this one's definitely the pinnacle of it. One of my favorite bloody lines of all time in films.
She got a great ass. You got your head all the way up it.
And yeah, it's
one of his iconic, most quotable films, isn't it?
Yeah. It is good. I'll say no, that's my favorite scene, and I think it's just because of that bit.
When he's with Hank Azaria?
Yeah.
Really?
I It's right. It's up there, only because it makes me smile every time, and it's simply
Yeah.
because of those two lines.
What about the other one where he's going to meet his snitch and he goes, "Show me what you got! Show me what you got!"
The black dude is there when he's at the car garage.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, my brother, he'll give you the information."
yeah. The guy, it does work though, weirdly, doesn't it? When Hannah does those things, because the people opposite him or the people he's confronting, they're all like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, well, exactly. It put you like back up against the wall, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, the one thing I was going to mention, I forgot when we were talking about Natalie Portman just now. Heat was her second film, and her first film, you may or may not know, is Leon.
Yeah.
What a first couple of films to be in.
I know. Talk about knocking it out the park.
Oh my word!
It's only downhill from there.
Oh no, exactly. And I love Leon, and I think you may have introduced me to that film.
Oh, I love that film. Yeah,
But absolutely brilliant.
it's a good actress, but
She is a good actress.
I mean, even in this film, she's not given a lot to do, but she's very good in it.
Yeah.
That goes back to what we were saying about the cast, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. Go on, favorite scene. Or have you got any other favorite aspects, actually?
I got to give Michael Mann credit. I think because he originally wanted to do this as a TV series or a two-parter or something.
Yeah,
and I think his ability to, I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, it's just shy of 3 hours, but his ability to trim all that down, yeah, I got a lot of admiration for. Don't get me wrong, like as much as I love the film, there's a couple of things that I think you could take out of it that would make it 2.5 hours. But I'm not going to grumble.
Well, I read that he took the premise of Heat because it's based on a bit of a true story as well, isn't it? I think Heat, like of a meeting of a police officer or a detective and a real life crook that he was chasing. I think a real life meeting of them two in like a cafe scene, similar to what they've got in the film. But he did a pilot for TV. I think it's called. Let me look at my notes. LA Takedown.
Yes.
So they did a pilot, but it didn't go. It didn't go anywhere. I think it just went as a TV movie in the end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they just repackaged it. I haven't seen that though. I've always been meaning to watch it, but then I thought, well, if Heat's the remake and it's got all those people and it's got Pacino and De Niro in it and it's that good, is LA Takedown actually going to be better? And it's probably not.
I read somewhere there's only one actor who's in both of the film and the TV film or whatever it was. And I can't remember who it is. So that's a really bad fact from my point of view. But never mind. Go on then. Favorite scene. I love the, like I said, because she's got a great ass scene. I quite like the death of Tom Sizemore's character. I can't remember his name.
Oh, but that whole scene, the bank heist, and when they come out of the bank heist, the standoff is ridiculous. That's incredible.
Well, it's supposedly I don't know the chronology, the chronicle order of this. I'll get my words out. The way that they shot this, right? But the supposedly professionals like SWAT teams or whatever are shown this movie and said that a lot of it is true to life as regards to the tactical awareness of the way that they shoot, the way that they because they're surrounded, aren't they? They shoot in one way, they shoot in the other way. So supposedly some of the tactics that they use are quite true to life.
Yeah.
But that entire sequence is really good. But specifically, I do like that scene where Tom Sizemore's character dies, and the balls that Pacino's character has to take the shot when he's holding the child.
Yeah.
And whether that's true to life or anyone would actually do that, but it's and then he runs in, he picks the kid up, and he sort of like runs out, and you can see he's talking to the kid. Brilliant.
Yeah. So I love the ending. From when De Niro goes into the hotel, like I love when he's in the car with Edie.
Yeah.
And you see he's looking at the sign for the airport, and you're thinking to yourself, the amount of times I rewatched it, I'm always like, why are you bothering? Why are you going to do this? Just let it go. You're free. Like, you can get on that plane, you can start your new life with this woman who has accepted what you've just done. Just let it go and just carry on. You said you wanted out, get out, but no, you can't let it go. Whenever that happened,
it's because his motto, though, isn't it? You've got to be able to walk away from something within 20 seconds or something.
30 seconds, yeah. I know.
So he goes against what his morality is.
Just can't let it go. He's got to get Waingro. But I thought about this, right? Because obviously the number of times I watched it. Why doesn't he go to New Zealand and start a new life and give it like 5 years and then slip back into the country in 5 years and then do over Waingro?
Yeah, when he's not expecting it.
Yeah, when nobody's looking for him anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Also, in 5 years' time, he might think, you know what, that Waingro thing, I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Val Kilmer was asked, I don't know what this was on, but he said, I've got an idea for the sequel of Heat, that Natalie Portman's character is obviously okay and she's alive, and Al Pacino is there one day, and she comes home with a new boyfriend, and the boyfriend is Val Kilmer.
What?
Yeah, that was his idea for a sequel. I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, but yeah. So she's obviously grown up. It's 10 years later. So she's
how old's Val Kilmer's character then?
Yeah, well, he's about 50 and she must be about, I don't know, 25 or something.
No. But yeah, obviously, other favorite scenes. You gotta pick the cafe scene as well. It's just brilliant,
amazing. Absolutely. What I love about that scene, right? It's out the window that they're a good guy, bad guy. Out the window that they're cop, villain, or bank robber, or whatever. It's just two guys shooting the shit and comparing their lives, which are very similar. You've already mentioned it, and yeah, the dialogue I think is brilliant in that element, and it's the delivery of it as well.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Great film.
I love the first heist
on the I know
on the freeway, on the underpass.
Yeah, on the sort of security van, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also love the aftermath where you first see Hannah and you see how professional the crew are handling the heist, but you also see how professional Hannah is and how knowledgeable he is. I love that aspect. And my other favorite scene, rewatching this time, for different reasons, or it is a different scene completely, is the heist that wasn't. So do you know when the cops and Hannah are watching them carry out this heist and Macaulay hears something from one of the vans,
yeah,
and he calls it off, doesn't he? He just drops it and they all leave. I love that scene because the tension that builds up, but you also see what Macaulay's like, this is the discipline.
Yeah, something's not right. We're out here. Bang.
Yeah.
And even though Val Kilmer's character is like, oh, we're almost through. Nah, we're out.
Yeah.
Really, really good scene, actually. Forgot about that one.
I could pick loads of others as well, but those are some of my favorite ones.
Come on, let's move on to some changes then. And I've got a few, right?
All right, go on. Yeah, you go.
I've got a few. I do believe it's too long.
Okay.
I don't know where you could shave off time. I haven't really thought that much into it, but I'm not saying I would cut an hour of it or anything like that. But at almost 3 hours long, it's not a slog, but it's a beefy amount of viewer time to watch.
Well, I've got two ideas where you could cut. Right, the Natalie Portman attempted suicide. Right, I don't mind it. Right, I haven't got a problem with the scene, but it's not absolutely necessary for it to be in there, right? Because Hannah's already separated from Justine. Yeah. So you could, all he has to do now is just wait at the station. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you think about how he gets to the hotel, he gets paged. So he could just be waiting at the station to get paged, or he could be at his hotel room to get paged. He doesn't have to be at the hospital. So that doesn't necessarily need to be in there.
I don't know if Natalie Portman's character needs to be in there.
I think if you have the struggling relationship with his wife, then I understand there being a stepdaughter. It's just, if this is a smaller part, you don't have Natalie Portman, do you?
Yeah, no, exactly. I tell you what, though, not the scene where she sleeps with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be so pissed off if I was that guy.
Oh, and I would as well.
Simply because he's done nothing wrong. He's been picked up by a woman, or it could be male, it could be female. It doesn't matter on the sex. You're picked up by another person. You get together, you have relations, and their partner comes home, and like, oh, I'd be like, what? Why didn't you tell me? Or blah blah. So, and she's basically done that to get back at him.
Well, yeah, she did it to get a conversation out of him, didn't she?
Yeah, no, exactly. I'd be raw. Yeah, because yeah, I always think that that person that has slept with the attached person always comes across as as like the bad guy in it, and they're not. If they out, if they never knew.
No, I'm with you. Exactly, yeah. I mean, I do wonder, were there no photos of them together in the flat? But that's by the by. If he says he didn't know, then fair enough.
Yeah.
I was going to give you another place you could snip.
Oh yeah, go on.
Do you know the Wayne Grow B plot of him being a serial killer?
Yeah, because it's not really resolved at all, is it?
No, that was in the original two-part story that he wrote. And apparently, well, not apparently, I think watching the film, the reason why the remnants of it are left in is because it's a way to get Hannah out of the dinner that him and the other cops are having with their partners.
Right,
And that gives Justine more reason to argue with him, to show their struggling relationship. But you can already see that they got a struggling relationship. So what does it matter whether whether that serial killer thing is in there or not?
yeah. You could have just had a serial killer. It doesn't need to be linked to Wayne Grow, whatever his name is. But
Well,
it
I
doesn't.
think it's linked to Wayne Grow because they wanted to show how much of a bad guy he is.
Yeah, I agree though. I if it wasn't in there, I don't think it'd be massively missed. You just need another reason for them to be called out to that meeting, don't you, or that dinner?
Yeah.
Which does bring me to my other point, and I do think that the plot at times is a little bit overcomplicated.
Okay.
And it probably and maybe it's because there's a number of different things happening. You've got a number of different side stories. Natalie Portman, the child prostitute murderer.
Yeah.
I can sort of forgive some of that. But my biggest change or my biggest bugbear with this film, Edie, and
All right.
how quickly Macaulay falls in love with her. He's only just met her.
I get where you're coming from because it's not. I don't think it's explained or shown how long is between the start of the film or him meeting her and then them going away. I'm under the impression that it's like a couple of months.
It's just that all of a sudden she's when they have quite a confrontational meeting, but that's fine because it's sort of like a misunderstanding, blah blah blah.
No,
Then
it's just the way Macaulay is.
yeah, exactly. He's so like guarded. Then they're sort of dating, and then they're moving away together. It's just like what? Where did that come from?
I tell you what, though, right? The weird thing is, I kind of buy it in this film because I think she thinks they're kindred spirits, almost like they've got similar characteristics. Like they both, again, I think he sees in Edie what he also sees in Hannah. Because Edie is a bit of a loner as well, isn't she?
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about their dialogue scenes, Macaulay and Edie, is that it's quite evident from how they're talking to each other that they're in similar positions, regardless of their quote unquote employment. But yeah, I mean, I can see why you'd have a problem. But my problem is needy. My problem if I've got a problem, and again, I don't know how you address it, but my issue rewatching it all the time is the female characters as a whole. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying they're underwritten. Well, no, perhaps they are underwritten, but then it's a film about men. I'm going to say it. It's a man's film. This film, and the female characters, I think, are decent, but now and again they can. If you look at Justine and Charlene, they're quite similar.
Yeah.
Like they complain and moan a lot about their partners. Now, I'm not saying they're not justified. We know what their partners are like. I mean, Hannah is out all the time. He's married to his job rather than her, than Justine. And Val Kilmer's character, Chris, is just, he's a nutter. Like he's a gambler and he's robbing banks. So I understand Charlene having a problem with it. But I think the way that they're written in the film, there's not a lot of humor, or there's not many chances to see them in a different light.
Yeah, they're just sort of seen as a bit of a nag.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I suppose, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what you were sort of saying, it's a film that is about this group of men.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have partners is a bit of a side story. It's not really adding much to what they main.
I think Michael Mann does the best with what he can. Yeah, because the A plot is the bank heist and Hannah trying to catch Macaulay. That's the A plot, and you're with these guys, and you're getting to know their psyche, their characters, trying to see both sides, good and bad. But Michael Mann is trying to incorporate the partners, the females, the women in their lives, and trying to do it. I mean, what you don't see as a counterpoint, perhaps, is Tom Sizemore's wife, Michael Chirito's wife. They seem to be madly in love. But then I suppose there's no drama in that, is there? And that's possibly why he only shows Charlene and Justine, because there's plot with those, and it shows they're more evident of the relationships they're in.
Yeah. I sort of just looking up Ashley Judd and what she's done previously.
She was big in the late 90s, but
yeah, because I remember her from Is it Kiss the Girls?
Yeah.
With Morgan Freeman, is that film? Have I got the right film
Yes.
there? Yeah. Double Jeopardy, a good film.
She was in The Time to Kill as well.
Oh, what a film that is! Love that film. Love that film. Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying about it's difficult, because you could try and bring through those characters a bit more, but do you then detract away from the main story, like you say, or the main plot, which is that the bank heist and the cat and mouse game between Macaulay and Hannah?
Yeah, and I remember now, the film's already 2 hours and 50 minutes long.
No, exactly.
So if you have more of the the women / partners in the film, you're only adding to the runtime.
Yeah. I have two other points, and
Okay.
they're not major points. Val Kilmer's escape from the police is a little bit weak from my point of view. Simply because I thought that they're on a stakeout, waiting for this guy to come and pick his wife up. You'd think that they at least would recognize him or have a description of him, regardless of he's got a driving license or a number plate which says something else. Of course he would. He's a crook.
What are you on about? But he dyed his hair.
The
I
fact
would have loved it. I would have loved if he got out the car with the Clark Kent glasses.
Clark Kent and a little curl on his head, and he's just like, but he takes his glasses off to clean, and they're like, oh, it's him.
Yeah.
But the fact he's been shot, he can't really turn his body, and they're like, yeah, you go on, sir. But no one else is able to sort of look at him. I say, yeah.
The only way I not look past it, but I always think how many they want to catch him, so they can't just fill the area with police.
Yeah.
So they got to have like a checkpoint or two that's quite discreet. Otherwise, he's not going to come into the area, does he? They know that he's an accomplished crook, so they're not going to have like white cars or squad cars visible, are they? And also, because I used to think, why is no one waiting on the balcony with Ashley Judd? And then I realized, like after the second or third time I watched it when I was younger, I realized, well, no, they wouldn't be on the balcony with her because that gives away that the cops are there. I do like the little hand gesture she gives him though. Because I like the fact that that's nowhere in the film have they built that up, but you just know for a fact that at some point he has said, we need a signal if it's not okay for me to come.
Yeah. My other point, my final point, there's not enough Danny Trejo in the film for me.
No, I'll agree with that.
I love a bit of Danny Trejo.
I would have accepted a 3-hour film, an extra 10 minutes if it was Danny Trejo.
Exactly. Do you know the scene where he gets shot in the house? That's filmed in an actual house, right?
Yeah.
And to this day, you can lift the floor, you can lift the carpet, and the blood stain is still there.
Really?
Yeah, there's a documentary on it or something, or maybe a featurette or something that they went back and what's it called? I got it written. Heat. Return to the scene of the crime, and you could they pull back the carpet or the rug, and there's a big blood stain there.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah.
Do you know his name in the film? His character name is actually Trejo.
It's Trejo, yeah.
They couldn't even be bothered to come up with a different name for him.
Anyone know any Mexican names? Oh, I'll just call him Trejo. That's the name of the actor. It'll be fine. And then the only final point that I've got, Michael Mann has said that he has written a prequel to it, and it is finished. This was in 2019, but so far, nothing's come of that. So I don't know if you've got any update on that, but a sequel would be interesting, especially around Macaulay's character.
I don't know how that would work though. I mean, Robert De Niro is bloody old now. So
you'd have to have different actors, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion if you're having different actors, what's the point?
Yeah. Here's a point. Here's just a question for you. If you were to want the sequel, and it could either be about Hannah or Macaulay, what would you prefer to see?
Well, I presume if you're saying sequel for Macaulay, you mean a prequel, yeah?
Or prequels, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Do you know what I would want to see? If I could have it, I would have Val Kilmer's character.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think he would try and get back with Ashley Judd. I think he would disappear for a couple of years and then he would come back.
come back.
And that, I think that would be interesting to watch.
Right, it's normally at this point we do budget 60 million and return
6-0.
60, yep, and they returned 187.
That's not bad.
Yeah, 3 times its budget, but it had a healthy budget, so it returned 128 or 127 profit million.
What you normally got to do is, if the budget's 60 million, you got to double it for promotion and advertising. So it's probably 100 to 120 million in total the studios put in, and they got 180 back. So 60 million profit. Yeah.
Yeah, not bad, is it?
No.
Not bad at all. All right, final question then. Would you recommend?
You're really asking me this.
Yeah, of course you would. And even though, maybe didn't have the effect that I thought it was going to have watching it this time round, I'd still highly recommend it. It's still a bloody amazing film, I think.
Was it just the length then?
I maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, right? Don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed it. I think I just got a little bit like, come on, I need this to end now. It's like 11 o'clock at night, I'm ready for bed.
Because I love rewatching it, because a lot of the times when I've watched it, I picked up on different like subtleties and nuance and pieces of dialogue. Yeah. And that's why it's one of my favorite films, because I tend to get something from it every time I watch it. Now, you could argue that it's 2 hours and 50 minutes, so it's giving you every opportunity to pick up on different stuff. But yeah, I love the film. I love the atmosphere of it. It's one of those films I just put on and I can just I get immersed in the world.
Yeah, and because of that immersion, immersion in the world, I would love to see a prequel. I would love to see a sequel. And I know you can't do it around Macaulay's character, but as you said, you could do it around Val Kilmer's character. I would like to know or see where Macaulay had got to, or how he got to Heat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So what had happened in his life previously that made him such this, person that could just think through a bank job and just say, right, we need to do this, this, and this, but have that discipline as well.
I will say that the more we're talking about a prequel, the more intriguing I find it, because you'd be setting it in the 80s.
I may have missed this in the film. Are they ex-military?
I think Macaulay is, isn't he? I think he's. Oh no. Tom Sizemore's character is Chirito.
Let's wrap up there. Podcasts come out every Wednesday. Hit us up on social media, including YouTube. And if you want us to do a film in the future, just let us know. Cheers all. My voice went then.
I know.
Got emotional.